testing ADA-compliant tactile sign font height, and setting the font guide. Since all of the proportional measures of an ADA-compliant sign are based on the font height, the first step in the assessment of these features is to test that the height of the font is within the allowed range. Note that we are not particularly concerned about how tall the letters are. We care that they are between 5/8 of an inch and 2 inches in height. To assess the height of the font, place the font guide on the sign with the pivot aligned with the bottom of a letter and the arm component approximately vertical. If the font guide is placed over a letter with vertical lines, this alignment will be easiest. With the font guide in this position, check that the top of the letter falls within the textured font height area of the arm. So long as the top of the letter falls inside this area, we are not concerned about where within this area it falls. The font height meets the ADA requirements. Setting the font guide. Once it is known that the height of the font is acceptable, we need to set the font guide so that all of the proportions are determined for the layout of the sign. As noted in the previous video, these calculations are not overly difficult, but can be daunting. Fortunately, the font guide, using the principles of geometry and slide rules, does all of the calculations for you with one simple adjustment. Recall that the arm of the font guide includes an arm reference line, and the protractor portion includes a protractor reference line. Note that with the arm aligned along the left edge of the protractor, these two lines meet just below the font height area. Holding the font guide away from the sign, rotate the protractor portion around the pivot, and notice that, as the protractor turns, the point at which the two lines cross moves up the reference line of the arm. This changing position is how the calculations are made. Place the font guide back on the sign, again with the pivot point at the bottom of a letter, and with the arm reference line aligned with the vertical stroke. When possible, use a letter such as N or F, which have vertical strokes to make the adjustment easier. With the arm in position, slowly turn the protractor portion until the protractor reference line crosses the arm reference line, just at the top of the letter. Check that the pivot is still in position before moving the font guide, as it may have slipped slightly during the adjustment. If it slipped, realign the pivot with the bottom of the letter and adjust the protractor so that the two lines cross just at the top of the letter. Once this step is completed, you have completed all of the proportion calculations for font sizes. If you move the font guide for the next steps, take care not to change the position of the two components of the font guide, or the calculations will be lost and you will have to repeat it.